Hello, and welcome to the fourth of our lessons about Peer Gynt. I hope you've had a good week. I've had a very busy one, lots and lots of music making and pantomimes and all sorts of things. Very, very busy. Let's move on straight away with today's lesson. We've got so much to get through, as always, and I want to make sure that you've got everything that you could possibly require, everything you need before we start. Now, normally I'm really organised and I have a printout of today's worksheet. Not quite so organised this morning. I haven't got a printout of today's worksheet. However, you may have printed one off. They can be found on the website theatreofmusic.com, live lessons and resources. At the bottom of the page will be a link to today's lesson on YouTube in case you want to watch it again. The music that I'm using, which has been created by myself, because that way we don't have any issues with copyright. So all of the sounds, all of the music that you hear during our lessons has been created by me. I am the full orchestra, although I always say it's much better to have a listen to a live version. So I encourage you to do that after. And so you can get to the worksheet there as well. So you can print the worksheet off and you can join in using the worksheet. So it isn't essential that you have the worksheet for today's lesson, but it's helpful. So if you haven't got the worksheet, what you can do is have a piece of paper and a pen. Now, the other thing is that everybody for today's lesson is going to need something that they can use to represent a drum and a cymbal. So what I have hidden away over here is a tin, which I'm going to be using as my drum. And I have a saucepan lid, which I'm going to be using as my cymbal. So I have my cymbal and I have my drum all set up. If you haven't got your drum and cymbal yet, go on, run into the kitchen or wherever, grab yourself whatever it is that you need to make sure that you're all set up, okay? And whenever I publicise these lessons, I always make sure, certainly on Facebook, where most of it is advertised, that I tell you what things you're going to need each week. Okay. There's no point in me trying to hide what piece of music we're going to be listening to today. We're going to be listening to In the Hall of the Mountain King, which is the fourth piece from suite number 1, and we've been looking at all of the rest of the pieces from suite number 1, Peer Gynt Suite number 1 by Grieg. So we've reached the last one from suite number 1, and next week we'll start looking at suite number 2. There are some key words that you're going to need to know for today's lesson, and they are up on the screen for you, and if you're using the worksheet, they're on the worksheet as well. So the first section of words are all to do with dynamics, how loud the music is. And I'm going to try and encourage you to use the language of music when you're describing these dynamics, because we're going to do a little listening activity in a second. The first word is piano. We think of that as a musical instrument that you play, but it also in music means soft or quiet. And when we write it on music, we just write the letter P to indicate that that section is played quietly, so that we don't have to write out the full word, because the music would get very cluttered if it had the full words for all of these things written down on it. So the first word, piano, means quiet. The second word you can see is forte. Forte means loud. And again, it's abbreviated on music and they just write the letter F. But the word forte means loud. The next word is a big word. It's crescendo. Crescendo is abbreviated to cresce, C-R-E-S-C, crescendo, and it means gradually getting louder. If in maths you think about those sort of hairpin things, a more than symbol and a less than symbol, it basically, you can draw those as well on the music to indicate crescendo getting louder, more than, and a diminuendo getting quieter, less than, so that you don't have to use the word, you can use a symbol as well. This word is very important in this piece of music because in the Hall of the Mountain King, it gets very exciting and it gets faster and faster and faster and faster. And we call that accelerando. You get gradually getting faster throughout the piece. So you're speeding up. We're going to be listening to the string instruments playing in this piece. There's a lot of string instruments, excuse me, there's a lot of other instruments being used as well, but the strings are very prominent. And sometimes the strings are being plucked with the finger. We call this pizzicato, when you pluck the strings. And sometimes the string players are using their bow, and we call this arco, when you're playing the strings with a bow. So sometimes strings are being plucked with their finger, and sometimes they are being played with a bow. I hope that sort of makes it all quite simple and clear. So piano, soft or quiet. Forte is loud, crescendo gradually getting louder, accelerando gradually getting faster, pizzicato plucking the strings, and we abbreviate that to pizz, P-I-Z-Z, and arco playing the strings with a bow. Now, some of these words, if you did the extension activity on last week's worksheet, you would have come across anyway because they were on the extension activity at the end of the worksheet, because each week when the worksheets are produced, there are extra things that you can do after the lesson to sort of keep you, extend what you've learned. Okay, enough waffle from me, enough chatter. Let's actually do some listening. So we're going to have a little listen to, oh no, let me tell you the story. What am I saying? Let me tell you the story, because this is great. We're looking at In the Hall of the Mountain King, and it is from scene 6 of Act 2 of Ibsen's play. So we're jumping around and we've gone backwards because we've been looking at Act 4 quite a lot. This time we've sort of gone nearer to the beginning of the play, and we're looking at Act 2. And what's happening in the story is basically Peer Gynt, as we know, he's very good at running away. He runs away from most things. Well, he's run away and he's fled into the mountains, and he mysteriously, and we don't know how he does this, bumps his head on a rock. And he dreams that he has landed in a mountain kingdom that is full of trolls. Now, in the scene, there is a crowd of troll courtiers, gnomes and goblins, and Dovregruben, I've got to get this pronunciation right, Dovregruben is the troll king. So they are in the troll king's hall, Dovregruben's hall. And he's sitting on his throne, he's got a crown on his head, he's got a scepter in his hand, and Peer Gynt stands before him. Now, imagine how Peer Gynt would have felt. I think Peer Gynt would have been quite scared. I think he would have been quite terrified at the thought of he's standing in front of this troll king, the Dovregruben. What's going to happen? Now, basically, the Mountain King offers Peer Gynt the opportunity to become a troll on one condition. He has to marry the princess. He has to marry the Troll King's daughter. Now, Peer Gynt doesn't like this idea very much, and so he turns it down. Now, imagine how the Troll King would have felt at this point. Do you think he would have been happy? How would Peer Gynt have felt? Do you think he would have been happy? I think Peer Gynt would have been very scared. I think the Troll King would have been quite cross. And actually, in the original version of the music for the play, this section had lyrics, and the words describe what the courtiers want to do to Peer Gynt. So one of the courtiers says, "May I tug him by the hair?" And another one says, "Shall he be boiled into soup and broth?" So it's not very nice. He's hearing all of this being said about him. He's under threat. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little listen to the Hall of the Mountain King. And while you're listening to it, what I want you to do is write a paragraph describing the music that you're listening to. Use the key words to help you. Think about what's happening in the music and what's happening in the story, and how you think the story is going to pan out, what you think Peer Gynt is doing during this section of music. How does the music help to describe what is happening in the story? I mean, I've got to be honest, if I was Peer Gynt, I mean, we already know he's very good at running away. I'd be off. I wouldn't be hanging around, would you? I don't think so. I'd be pegging it. I'd be out that door, and I'd be as quickly as possible trying to get out of the hall of the Mountain King and escape. So have a think about this while you listen to it. I'm going to play it. I'm going to maybe play it through twice because it's not very long. Listen to it a couple of times. The first time, my advice to you would be jot down a few keywords, ideas. So rather than start writing the paragraph straight away because you won't be able to keep up, jot down words, ideas. So beginning, describe the dynamics, describe the tempo. At the end, describe the dynamics, describe the tempo, describe what you think is happening in between, how the instruments are being played, what instruments you can hear, but jot them down as words rather than in sentences in a paragraph. And then as you listen to it the second time, write your paragraph. So jot down ideas first, then put it into a paragraph second. Okay? I will put the keywords up for you as well so that you can have those as a reference, so that there we go, so that you've got them there to help you. Okay, right then, well, let's have a little listen then, shall we, to Hall of the Mountain King. Okay, so that's the first time. So you should have jotted down a few ideas to help you with your answer. So let's just, wait a minute, gone wrong direction. There we go. So there's the question that you've been asked. I'm going to play it a second time. See if you can use that information that you've been gathering to create this paragraph describing the music. Okay, excuse me. So let's have a little think about what you might have written down and see if what you've written down relates to what I would have come up with. So using the keywords to help me, I would say that the piece of music starts off very quietly. So I would use the word piano. I would say that it's a quiet start, soft, quite gentle. And then as the music gathers pace, it also gets louder. So it crescendos, it gradually gets louder through to the end where it is at least forte. In fact, I would say it's probably even louder than that because there is a dynamic called fortissimo, which means very loud. And throughout all of that, at the very start, it's quite a steady tempo. And then it gradually gets faster and faster. The accelerando gradually gets faster right through towards the end of the piece. Now, at the beginning, you can hear the strings being plucked. I almost think of it as a bit like Peer Gynt's trying to tiptoe away. It's sort of very tiptoey music, and the pizzicato strings helps with that. So the steady tempo and the quiet dynamic sort of support that. It's trying to tiptoe away, trying to creep away, and then he gets rumbled and they spot him and they can see that he's trying to escape. And that's when it all goes mental and everything goes mad and the music builds and everything, you know, you can imagine people running around and Peer Gynt desperately trying to get away. That's in my head. So, and at that point, as it's got so fast, it'd be very difficult to pluck the strings that quickly. The bow comes out and they're using the bow, and what they're doing is they're moving their bow really rapidly to create that sort of, it's like a shimmery effect, I suppose, but it also adds to the tension of it all. Because what's going to happen if we just use this as a standalone piece of music and we know that Peer Gynt is trying to escape from the Hall of the Mountain King? What is going to happen to him? And actually, at the very end of this piece, the Mountain King and Peer Gynt confront each other. They are basically, the Mountain King standing there, Peer Gynt standing there. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And that's where the bangs and the crashes all come in at the very end. We'll come to that in a second. Now, when you're thinking about music, when you're listening to a piece of music that's in 4/4, this has got 4 beats in a bar. When the Peer Gynt's trying to run away, the music has 4 beats in a bar, and what you find is that you will have something called a strong beat and you have a weak beat. So 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. Beats 1 and 3 are strong. Beats 2 and 4 are weaker beats. So when you're playing a drum or you're trying to keep a pulse for a piece of music, very often you'll play on 1 and 3, but you don't play on 2 and 4 because it gives that sense of what the pulse actually is. If you went 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, that feels awkward. 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, that makes much more sense to us. And so what we're going to have a go at doing is having a strong beat. We're going to use body percussion for this. We're going to have a strong beat and we're going to have a weak beat. And we're going to use our body percussion to create that 1 2 3 4. So I'm using my clap on the strong beat and tapping my legs on the weak beat because that's a weaker sound than my clap. And we're just going to play along to the very beginning. Not going to use very much of it, but just so that you get a feel of this 1 2 3 4. And it's quite steady at this point. It's not fast. So it means that, oops, I didn't mean to do that. It means that you are getting used to keeping time. Let's try it. 2 3 4. You can hear the bassoon. 1 2. Let's try and join in. 1 2 3 4. 1 2. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. That's the point where the music starts speeding up. So we're going to stop there. But you can see how that tip-toe feel. 1 2 3 4 as he's sneaking away. If you get to listen to a live recording of this with a full orchestra, have a go at keeping that strong beat, weak beat. You should feel the pulse. 1 2 3 and 4, 3 and 4. Yeah, you should feel that pulse and be able to keep a tempo, keep in time with it, and clap your strong beats even, and weak beats. It's been a long week. Right, let's have a look at what we're going to do next. So we're moving on. This is where we're going to get our biscuit tins and saucepan lids or whatever it is you might be using. At the very end of the music is something called a coda. It's another key word. We're looking at a lot of key words today using this piece. A coda is an end section to a piece. Now, not every piece of music has a coda. It isn't essential for you to have a coda, but this particular piece of music does. And it's an end section to the piece that sort of finishes it off, the finishing off section, rather than just stopping what you've been doing. And actually, it would have been very odd if we'd have just stopped this piece of music without the end section. The end section adds quite a lot to the music. So this particular end section, this coda, has bangs and crashes in it, played by the percussion. Now, the percussion that's playing at this point, you've got the timpani or the kettle drum that is doing lots of rolls. They're doing this with their beaters. We're not too worried about that because the particular instrument there, the timpani, has been playing those sort of rolls pretty much all the way through. The end section that we're looking at is the section that's the parts that are being played by the bass drum and the cymbals. And what they actually do, if I get my makeshift instruments, let's move it well away from the microphone because it will be very loud. If I hit my drum, that's basically what's happening. So you're getting the drum and then the cymbal after. So if I play it for you, you'll see what I mean. And then we're going to have a go at you playing along with it. No music, because I think what I want you to do is use your listening skills to follow what's happening rather than follow the written music, because we've done quite a bit of following written music and rhythms. This is all about you using your listening skills. So let's find the bit in the music where I need you to be, which will be, I think, around there. Getting to the end of the fast bits. Here we go. Bang crash. Bang crash. Bang crash. See how that works? So it's a lot of bang crash, then we wait. Bang crash, and then we wait. And then we have a bang crash, 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 crash is the cymbal. And then we have a little roll that's the timpani, and then a final bang crash. So let's see if you can do that. So hopefully I've found the right place for it. Get your instruments ready. Here we go. Bang crash. Bang crash. Bang crash crash. Let's do it one more time. I've been looking forward to this all week. So let's try one more go. Wow, that's very loud. I don't know how loud it was on the microphone for you guys. It's very loud sitting here, I can assure you. So you've learned about a coda. You've learned a lot of key words today, which is fantastic because these key words are really quite important for you to be able to follow pieces of music, to be able to follow written pieces of music. Understanding the language is really quite an important thing. Now, if you have got the worksheets, there are some additional activities for you to have a go at. One of them is to have a listen to some other versions of In the Hall of the Mountain King. Lots of people have done versions of it. Rock bands like The Who and the Electric Light Orchestra from the 60s and 70s have done recordings of it. Madness, who are a group from the 1980s, did a version of In the Hall of the Mountain King. You could have a listen to the original version that was used for the Ibsen play with the vocals in and compare that with an orchestral version, and then write a little bit about what's the same and what's different. So that's one of the activities. The other activity on there is to write an acrostic poem. either using the name of one of the characters that we've come across, so Peer Gynt or Orsa, although that would be a very short one because her name's only got 3 letters, or Ingrid, any of those characters, the Edvard Grieg, if you felt like a really long one. Or you could use one of the names of the pieces. We've had Anitra's Dance, we've had Death of Orsa, we've had Morning Mood, we've just done In the Hall of the Mountain King. You could use any of those. You could use Peer Gynt's name itself and write a poem telling part of the story or just describing the character or whatever it might be that you feel that you can do with that poem. That would be amazing. And if you were able to send some of those to me through the Facebook group, through the Facebook page, and post them on there underneath the live lesson section, that would be great too, because it'd be lovely to get some feedback about what you've been doing and the way that the YouTube channel is set up, because it's aimed at children. It hasn't got any comments on it, so it'd be fabulous if you were able to do that on the Theatre of Music page on Facebook. So those are those additional activities that you can have a go at. Obviously, we've not finished with Peer Gynt yet, because we've got another 2 lessons, and there is a Peer Gynt Suite number 2 that we're going to be looking at, which isn't as famous as the first one, because obviously, you know, pieces of music from Peer Gynt Suite number 1, like The Hall of the Mountain King, have been used on TV adverts for things like Alton Towers and stuff like that. So they are out there and they are listened to a lot. Morning Mood's played a lot on the radio. The second suite isn't as famous, but the music is just as magnificent. So we're going to have a look at 2 of the 4 pieces from suite number 2. We won't get an opportunity to look at them all. More resources from Theatre of Music can be found on our website. I don't know whether you're aware of this on YouTube, but on our Facebook page, every day, every weekday, there's a daily trivia question and information about famous composers whose birthday it might be. So on Monday, it was Mozart's birthday, so there was information about Mozart. I'm trying to think who today is. There's all sorts of people we've had. We've had David Bowie, we've had pop musicians, we've had classical musicians, we've had all sorts of people that have written music for musicals, people that have written music for computer gaming, all sorts of people. So it's worth checking that out, and have a look on the Facebook page as well. And also it's on Instagram too. So you've got both options there. It'd be great if you would follow us on either. And as I say, post your pictures, post your poems. I'd love to read them. I will see you next week, and I hope you have a great week. Have another listen to that piece of music. Keep that tin out and your saucepan lid. Have a listen to a live orchestra play it and see if you can play along with that coda. Keep those key words going round in your head as you listen to it, because it's more strings to your bow, isn't it, as they might say. Have a lovely week, and bye for now.